You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
All right, hello Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios. This is Knightline 278 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Ben Stout.
And Roger Phipps. And on this week's show, the Ponies get ridden out of town. Second half Plumlee. We break down the offense and defense from this week's beatdown. UCF prepares to send Temple to the moon. We get inside the huddle with Knightline's football analyst Trey Neal. We provide our quarter season update, your questions and Ask Knightline, the Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, and news and notes.
All righty. Well, a 41-19 victory over SMU did not seem like it was going to go that way in the first half. A tale of two halves. I should have made some music or something, like a tale of whatever. Two halves, because it was completely Jekyll and Hyde. I could have played the theme from Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah. Dang it. Anyway, yeah. They woke up in the second half for some reason. Not sure exactly what happened, but and I don't remember most of it because it was Wednesday and it's now Tuesday. So, but we will talk about it. Plumlee definitely woke up. I don't know what was said at halftime. I don't know what went on in the locker room. I don't know if they all gave him shots of something, but they came out rolling after that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we were down 3 going into the locker room after that first half, and I think our group text and all of Night Nation on Twitter or wherever else they were, even if they were in the stadium, I think was pretty worried about being down at any point against SMU and what the points they can put up on offense, and but the point was one of the things that I was saying to myself and on the group text, I believe, is, at halftime is it seems like we have the defense that'll keep us in the game against anybody in the country, but do we have the offense that'll put up the points needed to beat the better teams in the conference and in the country? And luckily, in that, coming out of the locker room, starting with that very first drive, it just seemed like the offensive coaching staff and John Rice Plumlee just they seem to simplify things for John Rice Plumlee. They seem to really start to get him into quick hitting plays that can get him into rhythm, but also get our athletes into space. And the amount of yards after catch in this game were phenomenal, and they really. The playmakers that we have on the offensive side of the ball were really allowed to go ahead and run away with it.
I think somebody said this a couple of weeks ago, that's what we need to do with Plumlee. Needed to get his confidence going at the beginning of the game. Even script some plays, do something like that, just get it going. Get this stat's a little crazy. After gaining 145 offensive yards in the first half, UCF had 204 in the third quarter alone and 339 yards in the second half.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Weren't we like 45 passing yards?
49,
49
I believe,
at some
Georgia
point.
Tech. Yeah.
Oh, that was Georgia Tech. Yeah.
the whole game. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That was. See, I'm confusing the games. I don't know what week it is. I don't know what day it is.
The storm kind of screwed us all up. But,
it did. Yeah, having that in the middle and after and all that. So, Roger, what was your first take of this game that happened last Wednesday?
Well, for me, number one, it was nice to see 27,495 fans show up for this game. I wasn't one of them. However, I was dealing with, my own things, but they were loud and proud. I mean, this was 60% of what we normally get, but we're still at 90% for the season. I just wanted to say, like, after the hurricane and the game being moved twice, to see that many fans out there was just truly spectacular. And to all of you that were listening, that were there, you were 100% vocal on TV.
Agreed. Yeah.
It helps the team, and you think back to the Citrus Bowl days. 30,000 was a great crowd in a cadaverous stadium, and you made your presence known. So, number one, hats off to you for supporting the team. I feel like in the second half, you really heard it, and that helped the team. Number two, this was the game of scheme. I mean, SMU came out. They were going to get after it. They're determined to stop the run, whether that was John Rice Plumlee or Bowser or anybody else. That was their game plan. And the coaching staff adjusted. We joked about second half Randy for 2 seasons. I think we've got second half Gus and second half T-Will, and they're both doing a phenomenal job when it comes to that. I think that Gus was getting a little cute. Obviously there were some ties there to Rhett Lashley. He was his quarterback, as we mentioned last week, in high school and whatnot, and he was getting a little cute. I mean, that 2nd and 1 play, I mean, what were we thinking? But once we got back to basics and stretched the field, we got some of those short passing, those crossing routes, etc., those slants that we've been talking about and screaming for the entire year. And once they did that, they were able to spread the field, and we were successful. So, to your point, Andrew, tale of two halves. I think the offense and the defense both were great at making adjustments, and the coaching staff did a really good job, and the players responded, and it was a great win. I mean, this was the number 10 offense in the country, and we held them to 19 points, and it really wasn't 19 points because they scored in garbage time. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember that, but the timeout that shouldn't have been a timeout.
Sure.
Last second of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and that was a little crazy, and that hurt our stats, actually, because we had not allowed a red zone touchdown the entire season, and that was the very first one. So
that's ridiculous.
That is crazy.
We still got the number one
and
defense,
number one red zone defense, and that was our second string, third string,
right?
Yeah,
fourth string players in there at that point. So that's definitely garbage time kind of thing. There was something else I wanted to say, but I totally forgot. So, Ben?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we have, so we just talked about the second half adjustments, especially on the offensive end. I mean, I think that's something we have been looking for out of Gus and the offensive, coordinating staff. So we definitely, it was great to see that. It was great to see JRP getting rhythm. But the other thing that we have been talking about over the course of the first few games of the year is some drops by our receivers. Now, I don't know how many drops were actually in this game because I don't remember there being really any critical ones at critical moments. But one of the things that our receivers just did a fantastic job of is yards after the catch. We had 324 receiving yards. Obviously, passing yards match up with that number. As a team, 190 of those are after the catch. So that's a big time deal of getting short passes, quick hitting plays into into our receivers' hands and them really making something happen with it down the field. So that's exciting to see.
Interesting you would say that as well, because there's an interesting stat here as well. Baker had 138. O'Keefe had 117 receiving yards for the first time since November 13th of 2020, where two wide receivers each had 100 yards. Surpassed 100 yards.
There you go.
Last time since Marlon Williams and Jalen Robinson did it against Temple in November 13th of 2020. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and O'Keefe, that part of that was that 60-yard run where he actually caught the ball behind the line of scrimmage and he went off.
Yeah,
I think that was something we were missing.
JRP gets credited with the passing touchdown on that one. You know, he just threw the little shovel pass out there, and Ryan O'Keefe took it around the corner to the house.
No matter what, though, 484 yards in this game. I don't know if you remember Georgia Tech. We actually were outgained 119 yards. This game, we actually outgained the number 10 offense in the country, 484 yards to 476. We were talking about the split as far as running versus passing, right? So we've been hovering around 60-40. That Georgia Tech game was completely off. We went back to 56-44 on the split and 14.7 yards per play, pass yards per play. That beat Tanner Mordecai, one of the top offensive threats in the country, and Rice, who was the top wide receiver going into this game for the entire country on passing or receiving and TDs, and we held him without a TD this entire game. So, hats off to the defense. I mean, it's been a strength for us the entire year. And another interesting stat that just jumps out to me is we only averaged 4 yards per carry this game. Obviously, we didn't have Johnny Richardson as much, but what that tells me is we had over 30 attempts in this game for passing, whereas Georgia Tech was 17. So being able to switch that up, whether we're passing behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, short yardage, whatever, but being able to connect on 69% of our passes, how we get them in space really doesn't matter. That equated to 484 yards of offense, which is going to make you very successful, especially when you talk about the third down percentage success that we've had this year.
Yeah, R.J. Harvey actually led the rushing attack, believe it or not. He had that 30-yard rush, which kind of did it. But he had 69 yards. Bowser had 62. Plumlee had 32. Richardson had 12. 7 carries for 69 yards, averaged 9.9 with that long 30-yarder to R.J. Harvey. And honestly, I love Bowser, and I've been saying this for a couple weeks now. When Harvey comes out there fresh, he's special.
Yeah.
When he comes out, and as much as I love Bowser, I feel like maybe at this point, maybe we have a little bit better of a running attack with Harvey than we would with Bowser.
Yeah, I think it's the type of plays that are that are kind of called for each of them, and they were definitely in the first half keying in on the run in general, as we've all said. I was encouraged to see Bowser break loose on a couple of runs. He got a 17-yard run that was nice, and 4.1 yards per carry is up from his season average.
It is.
And I think the amount of carries for Bowser, 15, like that's the 10 to 15 per game, I think is really good for him.
The 3 touchdowns are really important too, obviously.
Oh yeah, wild night package that he runs at the goal line is just it's kind of unstoppable at this
Threw
point.
A pass
I love to
in
see
this
it.
game as well.
Yeah.
He was 1 for 1. It didn't make any yards, but 1 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting.
He's going to give Quadri Jones a run for his money. That being said, I agree with you guys. I mean, the big thing with Bowser, the last 2 games, we've been talking about him picking it up. I think he's found his groove. RJ Harvey, as we've mentioned before, last year was the number 1 running back in camp. So I think the difference between him is that he can go between the tackles, but he can also bounce it outside. I mean, when you watch him run, he takes 1 step, 1 cut, and his acceleration is just ridiculous.
That's why I just say that he's got more than Bowser does at this point.
He reminds me a lot of McCray.
He does.
Reminds me a lot of Greg McCray,
Yeah.
Different
running
on top
style,
of that, just the fact.
But yeah.
Yeah, and he pushes through the pile. I mean, when he, first contact, when someone tries to tackle him, he's not going down. I mean, he's going an extra 2 or 3 yards. And this game, we even had a offensive lineman, which is illegal, by the way. I think it was Sam Jackson that grabbed him by the pads and just pulled him an extra 2 or 3 yards or something like that.
I don't know if that's illegal, because I don't think in college, I don't think you could get away with that in the pros, but I don't think that is illegal in college.
It's legal to push, from my understanding. It's illegal to pull. So if you're pulling them, then it's against forward progress, and that's where that kind of comes into play, is my understanding of it.
Yeah, you would think that the referees would have picked up on that, but I mean, I'm glad they didn't, I guess, but still, yeah.
Now you can't always rely on the commentators of the game to explain something
horrible.
like that, but they were horrible throughout. But they on that particular play, they talked about that as a missed call by the ref. It seemed to be I don't know, they expected a penalty with that. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all the rules of college football, but I
Me
mean, yeah. So
I know even less.
Yeah. So let's see what else. Javon Baker led receiving, 10 targets, 6 catches, 138 yards. Like I said, O'Keefe 117 yards. Kobe Hudson 53 yards. Ryan O'Keefe, by the way, 2 touchdowns. The longest being 58, and Javon Baker's was 51. This is something that we've been missing, I think. We do not have nearly the deep threat that we used to have. And I think that is in part to the arm of John Rice Plumlee. I think
certainly the touch. He's got the strength.
He's got the strength,
but he
but
does
not
have
the
the touch. Yeah, on the deep
ball.
Yeah,
still lots of overthrown passes and underthrown passes as well. But 20 of 29, not bad.
Just
not bad. 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, longest 58 yards to O'Keefe.
Yeah, and
I mean, I think the big thing, to your point, is just having the number of weapons, right? So Ryan O'Keefe, combination of being hurt, and then also, people keying in on Ryan O'Keefe. I mean, he was such a big part of the Gasparilla Bowl and our offense early on that I think, they cover that. And having someone like Kobe Hudson come in now that he's back in the lineup and being another threat, I think even if he's taking 3 receptions, no matter what it is, it's taking the focus off of Baker, who clearly is the favorite of John Rice Plumlee. And it's getting the focus off of those folks. The more you can do that, and especially if you have a tight end, we saw that earlier on in the season, that can catch the ball, the better. And to your point, Andrew, I did look up the NCAA rule. You cannot grasp or be pulled by any teammate. The NFL does allow it. However, you can push in college. You cannot pull. So that was illegal.
I got it backwards.
Just going back to Javon Baker, I think he did he not get tackled on the goal line on that 51-yard play? He just barely missed out on getting the touchdown. I think that was one of Bowser's touchdowns.
Yes.
So I think that they were kind of messing with him about that, his teammates were. But one of the things that I like, that I happened to listen to it, his post game presser, and the last thing he said was about the man coverage that SMU employed on them, and he said that we took that personal, having one-on-one coverage on us, and we decided to make them pay for it, and they certainly did that. So hats off to them, and it's great to see those 3 guys, Javon Baker, Ryan O'Keefe, Kobe Hudson, start to have a big game, all 3 of them, because wow, you add those 3 weapons to our deep running back room, and even some tight ends that haven't been as involved in the last few games. It's tough for defenses to scheme against. Who do you pick? Because one of those guys is going to break loose.
I mentioned that Plumlee overthrows and underthrows, but sometimes, every once in a while, like this touchdown to Ryan O'Keefe late in the third quarter, it was perfect. It was a beautiful pass. Yeah. It was fairly long, but it was exactly right. He had to dive to get it, but it was still, pretty much exactly in the right spot. Yeah. So every once in a while, I just wish that we could see a little bit more consistency from him, and I don't know what it would take to get that, but it would be nice. It would be very nice.
Yeah, I think it's just. I hope it's just. This is the start of something big, right? Like it's just that confidence. It's getting more comfortable with his teammates. I mean, Roger, and we've all mentioned, guys like Ryan O'Keefe and Kobe Hudson not being as involved early on because of injuries or whatever else, and so. Hopefully, this second half is an aberration to, or as a vision to the future of this season.
Well, to your point, both of you actually, those balls were dropped by other people. And I know, like, maybe I'm against the grain with this, but Javon Baker had several of those that he could have caught. I don't know how much that is affecting the way that JRP is throwing these balls, but I will tell you this: he needs to throw more of them. I mean, there was that one throw where he zipped it in. Who was it? I think it was O'Keefe that caught that, or Javon Baker that caught it, where he zipped it right past
first quarter. Like he
zipped it right past the guy's helmet.
Had his back turned to him, and he just threw it right by him. That was a heck of a throw.
Well, I think he could have put a little more air under it, to be honest, because if the DB would have turned around or looked, but part of that is also understanding what defense they're playing, right?
You need
because
to put more air under it, it's underthrown. Period.
Well, that's assuming he doesn't have the power to do that, right? And you guys just said that he did.
Doesn't mean that he doesn't have. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the power, because he obviously has some power, but if you're having to adjust to the way that the ball is thrown, and usually when you're looking at Plumlee, it's either overthrown or underthrown. He doesn't have the precise control. That's what I'm saying, and that makes it more difficult, much more difficult for wide receivers to catch the ball.
I would agree with that to a certain extent as well. I mean, look, if we're looking at, and I hate to make comparisons, but if you look at a ball thrown long like that by Dylan Gabriel, it's coming high and it's coming down where the defender can't, interrupt the pass or disrupt the pass or catch the ball.
That's extreme touch control,
I think the comparison...
No, I know that.
I think the comparison...
But that's what we're used to.
I think the comparison on deep ball, though, right now, UCF comparison anyways, in the relatively recent past, I mean, is more Justin Holman. I mean, he has a JRP can throw, and I don't mean that as insulting to JRP or Justin Holman for that matter.
But it's more accurate.
But Justin Holman had a cannon for an arm, and I don't even know. I mean, and JRP with his baseball background and in general, like, he can throw the ball hard. It's just we need to see more consistency in the touch and in the second half, I mean, I just like the way that the offensive staff just kind of and him making adjustments where they just seem to have a game plan that would allow him to kind of play to his strengths in the passing game, and for the play in the third quarter to O'Keefe that you just mentioned, I mean, I think that some of those quick slants and those quick hitting throws that he made, that he was able to just put a zip on.
Those are the ones that he excels at.
Yeah, I think that gives him the confidence to make that great play to O'Keefe to float it out there, because that's not his strength, and that's okay for now. We just need to see that more consistently. And
we're here to analyze.
Complete team, yeah. I mean,
we're analyzing.
Yeah, we're all Tuesday evening quarterbacks at this point, right? But at the end of the day, what it boils down to too, I mean, is scheme. I think you hit it on the head there. Ben, that we made an adjustment, right? So instead of running it right up the middle or relying on him to make a play happen, at the end of the day, we did the same thing to Tanner Mordecai. We came after him with pressure.
Yeah.
On average, your quarterback is going to lose 50% of his efficiency when he is either being hurried or he's being blitzed. So if you've got a weak quarterback as it is, or someone who's learning, right, on the fly, and you're rushing that particular quarterback and you're taking away the run lanes, that's the way that you try to break that up. And that goes back to the short passing game. Whether you talked about yak, as George O'Leary used to love to call it, the yak. It's all about the yak. The yak is important, and that's where you get your playmakers in space with short passes, quick passes, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, because that's going to make the linebackers pull back. That's going to make them stop rushing the quarterback, and that's going to open up your quarterback, whether it be with his feet or with his passing, with his arm, be able to give him time to be able to pass, and also give your receivers time to create separation.
Yeah.
If your quarterback's having to release the ball within 2 to 3, 4, or 5 seconds, your receivers are not going to have time to create separation from those cornerbacks. And that's where those scheme adjustments come into play. I think that's what you saw. We stretched the field. We got Ryan O'Keefe involved in the outside. We had those short passing throws in the middle of the field, 2-3 step drops, and you're dumping the ball off. They can't stop that. And if they can't stop that, they've got to back up and go back into zone coverage. And that's when you can hurt them with the run game. And I think that's what we saw in this game.
Yeah, bottom line, we took what the defense gave us, and that was refreshing to see. I think that this second half was the most complete team success that we've seen this season. I'm looking forward to, I'm glad that after that second half that we get an opponent like Temple coming up, that is certainly, not a top team in the American. We can't overlook anybody, but I'm hoping that we're able to put that together for a complete game and really gain some momentum, because after that it gets a lot tougher, that's for sure.
Well, right now, as we speak, are a 23-point favorite. I never like it when it's really high like that, because crazy things happen.
Yeah. And crazy things have happened against Temple. They're like ECU, which is the next week after that. I mean, there's just some weird things that happen against Temple. Obviously, we remember some spectacular plays, but also some upsets
the tease,
as well.
Man. Yeah. Tulsa, Temple,
Yeah, something about that.
23.5 at the moment.
Yeah, and I think it should be more, but it is what it is.
It always scares me.
Well, I guess that we know what your score prediction is going to be in the hot take of the week.
We'll see.
All right.
One other thing we haven't talked about it in the second half there of the SMU game is the interesting use of our special teams. Now, obviously, Colton Boomer continues to shine. That kid, we have a kicker, thank God. But also the great decisions by Malzahn and our special teams coordinators of recognizing certain situations where we want to use McCarthy, is that his name? McCarthy, mm-hmm. and then for a longer punt where we want to put him back there because we need the distance on the punt. But also bringing Andrew Osteen back into the fold, and for some of those precision punts, I thought that was another great use of the talent that we do have on special teams. And Osteen, respect to him because he stepped into that moment. He was given a role by Malzahn and Brett Bell, and he executed those coffin corner precision punts in a very big way, and that one of which led to a safety. So, again, complete team win in the second half, and that was just great to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Osteen, Gus said when McCarthy was coming in after his first game, he's been in 2 games now, he said that he was going to continue to use Osteen, and Osteen put it inside the 10 on 2 straight punts.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And when you're a low possession game, you've got a great defense. What do you want to do? Do you want to 100%? If you've got an accurate punter who has experience, you want to leverage that person to your strengths. And at the end of the day, McCarthy he's got that rugby style punt, which is great because the big thing we were worried about was blocked punts. And he's taking care of that. But when Osteen got in there and that safety made all the difference in the world. I mean, that when we're talking about football and we're talking about momentum, that's one of those momentum plays. That's when the team figured, hey, we've got these guys. They might be number 10. They might have a great offense, but we've got these guys. And I think that was one of those moments in the game where it completely shifted. And I think we put the gas pedal down after that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that safety and I think O'Keefe's, shovel pass run around the corner were the 2 moments in the second half that we just kind of stepped on their throat and we demoralized them, which was just awesome to see. And the rest of the team, including special teams, kind of played into both of those moments, which was awesome.
Absolutely. All right. What do we want to talk about? Where are we going with this thing?
I would like to cover the lines a little bit. One of the things that we've been kind of giving everybody a hard time about was the pass blocking, and in this game, it was 100% improved. I mean, it was excellent. PFF, we like to talk about them quite a bit. I mean, the linemen. Specifically Phegley, and I know I screw up his name every time, so forgive me. But 82, 80.2, 80, 72, 90, 88.2. Those are phenomenal. That PFF's ratings, right? That is extremely high. That's not average. Average is about in the 60s. Above average is in the 60s. That means this team, and they were giving John Rice Plumlee some time. And John Rice Plumlee, one of the things he has quick feet, so he can get away and stop negative yardage situations when folks get free. But that is phenomenal. And that's one of the things we wanted to see because that offensive line, as much experience is there, they haven't played together a whole lot. And watching them do that is pretty good. And then, from a running perspective, most of them were in the 60s, some of them were in the 50s, but that was above average. And considering the fact that they were going cover 0 the entire game, or at least at the first half.
Right?
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That means they were bringing the house. They had folks in the box the entire time, and that offensive line reacted well to it. So, we talk about what John Rice Plumlee was able to do, what the receivers were able to do, but, games are won in the trenches. And, we talk about this a little bit with Trey, the D-line, strength of the defense, made the difference in the second half. And I think the offensive line kept us out of negative plays and allowed John Rice Plumlee a little bit of time to be able to do what he did in passing the ball, and ended up with a 69% completion ratio. So, hats off to the offensive line, hats off to the defensive line, obviously. That was more evident, but the offensive line, those are things that people don't see. Those are things that people don't pay attention to because they're watching the playmakers, but that offensive line made a difference in this game.
Yeah, I'll agree. I agree with you there. And obviously you said it right on the offensive line. I don't have much more to comment on that, but you mentioned the defensive line. But we've talked a lot about the defensive line this season and linebackers, and deservedly so. I mean, Jason Johnson had another great game. Led the team in tackles, I believe, again. But we had some great distribution from the linebackers on the tackling front, but I thought the defensive backs, while we gave up some plays or gave up some yards, let's put it that way, I felt like they were tasked with a really big challenge this week, and they were challenged by the coaching staff. Gus talked about that after the game, how they challenged the defensive backs to take on these wide receivers, and Rashee Rice he's going to play on Sundays. He's an NFL receiver. That guy's legit, and take on the task of covering them one-on-one in some cases, man-to-man. And I thought the defensive backs on the whole did a great job against a very prolific passing offense. And so I think hats off to them as well. They really played their role of this defensive success in this game very well.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all anymore about the defense.
Defense is legit,
like super legit.
All three levels.
Absolutely.
They can take care of it. Yeah.
I feel kind of dumb because that was the thing that I was the most worried about. I was worried about the linebackers. That hadn't been a problem.
I think it was just the mystery, right? It was the mystery of the linebackers, but now we're good to go. We've seen enough. Verdict is in.
Well, and you talk about the defense, Tremont Morris Brash. I mean, everybody's talking about how big of a season we've all been waiting for this season for him, right? This game, 6 tackles, 4 solos. More importantly, he had a sack, the only sack in the game, 2 tackles for a loss, and a QB hurry. I mean, at the end of the day, what it boils down to, if you've got a defensive end that's got that much pressure, because we know we have good defensive tackles. We know we do. We knew that going into the season. But if you're able to disrupt someone like Tanner Mordecai, who is a pocket passer, we talked about this earlier. If you can get him on the run, if you can get him out of rhythm, if you can get him, keep him from picking apart your defense, then you're winning. And that was the difference between the first and the second half. We played zone on the first half, which, against a pocket passer, that's the right call. But that's not our strength. And I think our defensive backs do better on one-on-one coverage than they do on zone defense.
They like that challenge. It's interesting. I mean, you mentioned the one sack, but and thank God. I mean, Drop has been played. Tremont Morris Brash has been playing unbelievable this year. Thank God. I mean, we've been looking for that from him since he came to UCF. But you mentioned the one sack. I mean, eight pass breakups. 8 pass breakups. I mean, I don't know. You guys know better than me, but that seems like a pretty high number against that's 8 plays in the passing game that were, completely disrupted, so that is another great performance by our secondary in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're playing great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
We messed around on the group text, but yeah, T-Will's gonna get a bag of money from somebody. I hope we can hang on. I hope it's us, but I hope we could come up with the money. I see him getting some big time looks from some programs with a lot of money for their defensive coordinator role. But I hope he is loving it here and stays and hopefully. We are
making that transition.
Be comfortable with him not being here long. Let's just put it that way. But hey, I'm loving it while he's here.
We are making that transition to the Big 12, so there is going to be a little bit more money for stuff
but not
like
immediately.
So, yeah, no, I know.
That's
I know.
the thing.
Well, they can structure the contract.
You're right.
So.
You're right.
I don't think we have to worry about T-Will for next season. I think if we pay him in the first Big 12 season, I think that's a distinct possibility. That's one of the things that Terry Mohajer has put out there, that's one of his priorities. But to your point, Ben, 54 pass attempts against the, from the number 10 passing offense or number 10 offense overall in the country. And we withstood that.
Well, they're not number 10 anymore.
19 points.
Are they still number 10?
And really, and really 12, right? Or no, really 13, right? Because that garbage time, last second touchdown wasn't against this defense. So really, it was just besides one broken play in the first half, this defense played, phenomenal. Just against a true test. This was our when it came, obviously Malik Cunningham of Louisville provided a test that was different than this one to this defense, but certainly a true test. We're talking first conference game. They had to step up against SMU, especially what they did to us last year. And they stepped up in a big way, and luckily the entire team followed suit in the second half.
Agree 100%. Just silence. Roger, are you there?
Not
You're
silence.
okay?
You just agreed. It's like everybody's like silently nodding their head right now.
We
Like,
were,
yeah, that
kinda.
makes sense.
Yep.
Hopefully all of Night Nation is too.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're going for the head bob, folks. So if you
Yes,
guys are
there you go.
listening either while you're running or if you're in your car, just give us the head nod.
That would be good. Good play by like Josh Salazar and the line as well.
Yeah.
On the defensive side, all those guys, Anthony Montalvo even.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's one of the ones that I was a little bit worried about what he would do as well, and he's done great, and half the time he has a club hand as well. So
Yeah, it's pretty wild to see.
Broken thumb.
It's pretty wild to see guys like Tremont Morris-Brash and Montalvo with 6, tackles, 4 solo tackles apiece. That's a good amount of tackles, I think, for a defensive lineman. Really, I mean, it shows the type of effort and talent that we have there.
Well, Tremont Morris-Brash right now on the cumulative stats. I actually said it the first time. 20 total tackles for him. Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste above him at number 2 with 28, and Jason Johnson. These guys, we talked about this with Trey, but after we went off the air, I didn't get this one in because I was trying not to make it an hour-long thing like we had last week with him. These kids that are coming from the FCS as linebackers, the last 2 that we've had,
Bryson Armstrong.
Bryson
Yep.
Armstrong, thank you, because the name was totally like spinning in my head. Just doing an incredible job. He has 41 total tackles.
Yeah.
41.
Yeah, through five games.
5
Yeah,
games.
wow.
Yeah. Incredible as far as I'm concerned. I don't get it, but these guys, those 2 guys, both of them probably should have been in the FBS instead of the FCS.
Yeah, thank God they're in the FBS for us now.
Yeah. I'm digging taking the top, linebacker out of the FCS 2 years in a row or whatever.
Yeah, it seems to be a pipeline. FCS All-Americans come to UCF for your last year, and we'll bring you to the promised land.
I guess. I don't know, but thank goodness we have them. I would much rather them be on our team than other teams.
No doubt.
All right, let's look at a little bit of those cumulative stats. John Rice Plumlee, what is this? I'm confused now. Sorry. That was total offense. Okay, let's look at the. I wanted to get to actual rushing. Isaiah Bowser, 294 yards. Plumlee leads by quite a bit, 477 so far, averaging 86.2 a game. Isaiah Bowser in second with 294, averaging 58. Has 8 touchdowns, though, compared to Plumlee's 4 running. Johnny Richardson, 235 yards. R.J. Harvey, 195. John Rice Plumlee, as far as throwing, just surpassed in this game 2,000 yards in his career, which was kind of interesting. Just because he hadn't played that much quarterback. 89 of 146 with 3 interceptions. So efficiency rating is pretty high there, 138.4 for him. Averaging 228 yards passing, 228.6. 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
And I see so far, I mean, I obviously we're going to face some good defenses coming up, especially Cincinnati and Tulane. But, the 61% completion rate, we've talked about drops before. that could easily be up there if you incorporate some of those drops into catches. But just some of the rhythm that you saw in the second half of that game last week, I guess at this point. You only see that number going up, or at least optimistically, you'd like to see that number go up. So 61% is actually a little higher than I thought it was. So I think he's getting to that efficiency rate that would bring us a lot of success. That's for sure.
Andrew, what was the total number of passes? You said 89 of what?
146.
Okay, so adding the 3.7 average number of drops per game this season for 5 games, that's a 74% completion ratio.
Yeah, there you go. So if this offensive system,
not
with his,
all of those drops though are the receiver's fault.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now,
not most of them.
If you took half of them, so say he's at 70% in this offense, with his ability to run. 70% completion rating. I mean, we're going to win a lot of games. So
right.
That 61, forget the drops for a second. The 61%, we see that improve to 65, 68, in that range. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more success.
Those are Heisman numbers.
We've seen. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more success.
Yeah. Well, just needs to work on that touch a little bit. That's the one thing, needs to work on the touch.
And hopefully he does as he gets more comfortable, being a quarterback.
I mean, I
again.
can't totally hate on him because, there's certain things and certain throws, like I said before, that are just on the money. But there's a lot of them that aren't. It doesn't really reflect it in the stats, I don't think.
Yeah, to quickly go back to the rushing stats, what I found interesting there, 235 yards for Johnny Richardson on 31 attempts, 294 yards, so about 60 yards more for Isaiah Bowser on 53 more attempts than that. That's 84 attempts that he has. So just the explosiveness and obviously Bowser does a lot more than just rush the ball for this offense. I mean, he's really provided a lot of stability in the blocking, passing game and all that. But still, that we have some explosion with a 7.4 yard average for Johnny Richardson and the 7.1 yard average of R.J. Harvey. It'll be interesting to see moving forward how those two backs are used along with Bowser.
R.J. Harvey actually average per game 48 yards, Johnny Richardson 46 yards, Isaiah Bowser 58, and Plumlee 86.2.
To your point, though, Ben, on the blocking, it's not just offensive. It's not just pass blocking. He's also acting as a fullback for JRP as well.
Yeah, on those design run plays for sure. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Okay, point made. What else? What do you guys want to talk about?
It's not necessarily.
I'm not feeling very talkative tonight.
That's okay. The one last thing I'll say, just since we're looking since we're looking at the stats, I'm not sure what a really good punt return average is. Xavier Townsend's had 11 attempts. 116 yards on the season, 10.5 average for a 31 long. Now, some of his better plays in the return game have been called back due to penalties that probably wouldn't have affected him if we didn't hold the ball, hold somebody or whatever. It was usually on the other side of the field. I think Xavier Townsend is poised, hopefully in this upcoming game, to break one. And it doesn't happen often at UCF, but not since Mike Hughes anyways.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen often. I think he is poised to
break one.
Really break one for a touchdown. And I think that there'll be more to come once he breaks through for that first one.
So was it this game or was it last game that Tremon Morris Brash had the fumble return?
It was it was the game prior to the SMU game. Yeah,
so
it was
we've
the
already
Georgia
talked
Tech
about
game.
That.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the fumble return stats. I'm still that play is ingrained in my head. Hold on to the ball. Hold on to the ball.
That was wild.
Oh boy, yeah, it's all running together at this point for me. I think being so long between the time that the game took place and we've talked about it. It's just a little longer.
And we did talk about that in the beginning. Obviously, anybody who's affected by hurricane, like we were, certainly our hearts go out to all of Knight Nation. But who was also affected was this team, these players and coaches. And so you got to give them a lot of credit for getting through that week, making sure they stayed focused on SMU. That could not have been easy when you really add that human element into it, which we sometimes forget when we're trying to break down X's and O's and what's the problem, what's the successes of a football team. But there was some talk in press conferences and stuff about just how they came together as a team, how they remained focused on SMU, and they deserve a lot of credit for that as well.
A lot of that is having a strong leader as well.
No doubt.
And luckily, we have Coach Malzahn.
Agreed.
In situations like that especially. I know that some people, aren't horribly excited about, the way he calls plays and stuff like that. I love the trick plays, by the way. We talked a little bit about that earlier in the
Dude,
I love them. I love them.
Four.
You got to do whatever you got to do. I don't mind at all.
I was not a fan of that. I was throwing things. Figuratively, not literally. I on a 2nd and 1, and then what did they end up losing 10 yards on that play?
He's got a ring and you don't. So,
I understand that, but
there's a reason why he's a head coach and you're not. He's got a ring. Just remember that. Everybody wants to talk about how he calls plays, but nobody that is doing that has the experience that he does as well out there. So the dude has beaten the master, Nick Saban, multiple times. Yeah. So you got to remember that. I'm good with it. I'm good with I love the trick plays. It's always been a thing that he does. If you ever watched an Auburn game, obviously most of us did.
Yeah, I mean, it does make you wonder if it's more of a big picture thing with Gus. I don't claim
he might
to know.
Be trying to figure out a coverage or something on some of those things
too.
Or you can do weird stuff.
Or just when you simplify things towards the end of the game or in the second half. Is there always something in the back of the defense's mind that they're saying, well, are they going to go for that quick slant again, which would be the right play, or are they going to try something simple, trick, the shovel pass to Ryan O'Keefe that he turned the corner and went 56 yards on, was there one or two defenders on that maybe could have gotten up to him, but they slowed up just a half a second because they didn't know if he was going to reverse it again. I mean, who knows? It could be a big
sure there's
that play.
Statistic.
That specific play was played by TCU the previous game with the same exact results. That's where that play came from.
Okay,
100%, and that came before the trick play. But I agree with you. I mean, there's something to be said for tendencies and other things and trying to mix it up to keep people off balance.
So you're saying that Gus Malzahn watches TCU and steals plays from him?
I 100% agree that he watches film from the previous week and sees what works and what doesn't. I mean, he said as much in his presser today. He said he said the exact same thing, that he watches specific games and series and things. And, if you're watching film.
There was a reason why he tried to do that. So that's
100%.
So was he wrong for doing that?
I'm not saying he was wrong. I'm saying that particular play, the reason he played that play, and that was before the 4 whatever things that were happening. The reason he played that play was it was literally the same play that he played in TCU, and he played it later in the game as well, and it had success then as well. It was just something that they found.
A lot of those things are like 50-50 type things where it's either going to hit or it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you take your chance every once in a while when you feel like the defense is in the right, lineup or whatever, or you see somebody moving and you're like, okay, this is where we throw that play in. So I don't have a problem with it. I mean, like I said, 50-50. Half the time they work, half the time they don't. But when they do, it's awesome.
And it makes you wonder. I'm
not saying that he was stealing the play. I kind of misspoke when I said that, but if you see something that another team does that works, obviously you're going to try it.
Yeah.
Especially if it goes, for a long,
I also wonder how much of again, I don't pretend to know what's in Gus Malzahn's head, but he probably was playing a little bit of a teacher, student
Absolutely.
there against his, his guy, right?
100%.
Rhett Lashley, like showing him that he's the, creative one. And, some of them didn't work out. A lot of them, the others that were a little more straightforward were certainly the more successful plays. But, it makes you wonder some of that gamesmanship that could have been going on that front.
Yeah, and you saw what coaching, the student versus teacher, it happened in this game because, who came out on top? You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people, not just the head coaches, but there's a lot of people that on that SMU staff that were assistants of Malzahn, and there's multiple ones. So they definitely knew, what was going on over there. So
that's such a wild connection to me, though, that when he was a high school coach,
well, that tells you how long
it's just such
Malzahn has been in the game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and that's that much experience.
I mean,
years.
I think we'll go however many years of watching college football, and you won't see two head coaches going against each other. That when one of the head coaches was a high school coach, that this guy was his high school quarterback. It's just wild.
That's crazy.
That's a great connection.
There's a lot of, I kind of like to look at coaching trees and see, where people came from and all that. And Gus Malzahn has a lot of guys that have come from his teams that have gone other places. So it's not going to be the last time that we see stuff like that. That one, the high school coach and the quarterback, that's extreme. But
we'll see one day with we'll see another addition to that with T-Will one day, but I don't think that'll come anytime soon. But certainly
there are quite
I
a
worry
few,
about somebody else backing up
every week. There's another head coaching job. It seems like that's out there. So there's some that are definitely open. So hopefully we can hold on to him, like we said. All right, let's take a break and we'll be right back. And we'll come back and talk to Trey. How about that?
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. All right, please welcome back Trey Neal. Trey, how you doing? It's been a while. We took a little bit of a break there because of a game being at a totally different time than we expected and a hurricane in the middle. How did you go through that hurricane, by the way? You were all good?
Oh, yeah, I'm all good. I was in Miami, so it just missed us, and we just got a little bit of rain. That was about it.
All right. Well, it sounds like it was better than the rest of us made it through it. Well,
yeah.
I don't know about you. Roger, I guess you were down here for a little bit of it, so.
Yeah, I drove into the storm along with all the electrical workers along I-75. It was kind of funny. They're like, number one, shout out to all those guys because there were literally thousands of them coming down on that Thursday that were pre-positioning. So But yeah, I was hanging out in Central Florida and in East Orlando, like many of you, and we made it through well. We didn't have any flooding like a lot of other places did, so we counted ourselves very lucky.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, we didn't get flood here. I got a fence torn down and power out for a couple days. That was about it. So, Ben, I'm assuming the same kind of thing.
I was all good. It was a very surreal week for me because I had kind of. I didn't ever lose power. I was very lucky. I didn't ever lose power.
Oh, wow.
I had people like 10 minutes away from me that had trees falling and stuff like that. I felt like I was in a bubble all week. It was very strange, but I'm obviously thankful for that.
Yeah, well, hopefully the rest of you listening are good. So I want to get to the game. Kind of a tale of two halves, Trey. Very different in the first half versus the second half. The offense had a little trouble getting going. Looks like the defense had a little bit trouble getting going. If you look at the stats, though, you would never know the story of the game because the stats kind of even themselves out with the two halves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think, for all the guys that just look at the stats, you'd probably think we were, again, one of the top teams in the country, the way we're handling some of these final score boxes and stuff. But again, it's like you said, tale of two halves. We're getting off to slow starts and we're picking up in the second half. But to me, that's a recipe for the disaster. That's just my cup of tea on it. I don't like teetering on that kind of ledge just because we've done it a couple of times now. Maybe once a game, once or twice. But just because we've done it a couple of times, I'm starting to get a little bit worried about how we're starting on offense and a little sluggish on defense too. So, but hey, again, we got to win. I'll never complain about that as long as we keep winning.
Absolutely.
One of the things, Trey, that we've been kind of complaining about, at least on the offensive end of the ball, is just it seemed like in a few of the games that we struggle, in particular, obviously the Louisville game where we the one loss that we've had this year, but just the adjustments, the second half adjustments coming out of the locker room and, changing something up, given what the defense, or taking what the defense has given us. What were some of the adjustments that you saw on maybe starting with the offensive side of the ball that we did do just to kind of get going in that second half, right out of the locker room there?
I know. The thing I've noticed is that they, like you said, they make really good adjustments. As far as scheme-wise, I don't know exactly what SMU was doing that was giving us so many problems. I think we were getting just a little bit cute on what we were doing on offense. Again, his MO is running the ball and being a smash-mouth football team. That's great. So I think, if you can set the tone with that and then build off of it, that's great. Or you go the other way, throw a little quick passes, get your quarterback in rhythm to kind of open up the run. That's great. But again, I think it was 2nd and 1 and he ran the little double pass. To me, you don't need to do that. 2nd and 1, if you want to do get a big chunk play, take a chunk play. You have the athletes. You don't really have to trick guys. You have Ryan O'Keefe. You have Baker out there. You have the tight ends, the running backs. To me, it's just, the old school point guard. Just get your best players the basketball or get your best players the football and let them do what they do. I think we're almost overcomplicating it. I think in the second half, that's what he just kind of did, run the ball, get your guys easy plays and let them do the rest. I think that's the best thing for success, especially we all know JRP for the most part, he's not the passer that, for example, Mordecai is. He's a streaky kind of passer, I say. If he starts getting hot, he's hot. But if he's cold, he can kind of shut it down a little bit or not take shots, and he misses some easy throws. So I think you just got to kind of let him make the easy throws and get him in a good rhythm, and let our athletes make plays, man.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed like actually in the second half they kind of simplified things a little bit for JRP in particular. It seemed like I think when he gets in trouble is when he has to progress to his second, third read in the offense, and they were just and I know Roger wants to hit on this, so I'm going to let him go on it. But they kind of get into these quick slants, and it was just a one read, and just use that baseball arm of his and just fire it in there. And I think that's what really kind of helped him get in a rhythm and helped the whole offense get in a rhythm.
Yeah, and it's again he's not an experienced starter. Again, I don't know what it takes to play quarterback, but I've seen what those guys in that development. If you're a one read guy, let me preface, it's not easy to do it. Going through reads is hard because you have to know not only what your guys are doing, but what the defense is doing, what coverage, the coverage rules, all of that. So it's a hard job. But, that's what's expected, is being able to go through more than one read. Because, again, if we, hopefully we went out and then we played these good teams, one read and just run around is not going to beat, what the goal is for this team, which is conference championship and a New Year's Six bowl. That's always been the goal. And, a one read offense, that it doesn't work. I don't care who's at quarterback. I don't care, any of that. Just one read isn't going to work. So if you can get through progression reads, and again, if you can just build his confidence so that he doesn't feel, the pressure of it, do that early. If he's what makes this offense go, which is what I'm assuming, that's why Gus put him in to start, then get him his confidence early. These guys are athletic. Like I'm saying, the running backs are great. They're physical. I mean, you just seen R.J. Harvey, and Bowser, and now we have Johnny Richardson and R.J. Like, these guys are 5-6 deep at running back, I know. And we have the guys on offense, receivers and tight ends. So, just let him make some easy throws. Let his athletes make the plays. Get him in a rhythm. Then you expand the playbook. Build his confidence to get that first, second, third read. Because if you take it away early, when you need him to do it, it's going to be hard to, get him that confidence. It's just – and I think that's what they did in the second half, just make it easy, and then you get that confidence. Then you start to heat up. And I think if they can just do that early, it'll save us a lot of stress.
Yeah, from my seat, one of the things we like to do, and when we play our best defense, is when we're leveraging our defensive line and really, leaning on our cornerbacks and defensive backs to make sure that we have coverage. And a lot of it is man coverage. And we kind of switched that in the second half with SMU. But I kind of, when you're talking about confidence and building confidence, I think one of the big things for John Rice Plumlee in the first half was they brought the house pretty much every play. They were playing cover zero the entire time. And the goal with that is that you're taking away running lanes and his ability to, make things happen when things break down. Number two, you're keeping the running backs and him as a running threat, contained and not being able to get to the edge. And so you're forcing him to throw those quick passes, right? And I don't think a lot of the passes he was throwing were long ball passes, and we weren't really sprinkling in those slants, those quick slants and stuff until a little bit later on. And when you saw that, John Rice Plumlee's, to your point, confidence started coming up, and the defense had to back off a little bit. Then we were able to soften up the middle with the run game and then go sideline to sideline. So, I feel, just listening to you talk about it, I agree with you that we've got to scheme for what JRP's strengths are. We also have to scheme for what the defense is giving us. And I think it was almost like we flipped roles in the first half. We were playing a lot of zone defensively. In the second half, we started bringing pressure, which is what I think our strength is. So, you saw what that did to Tanner Mordecai, to your point, a really good pocket passer who we made, we only had one sack during the game, but we had him moving and having to throw on the run. So when you're talking about reads, if you've got the entire defense bearing down on you, you don't have time for a second or third read. And where the important part, and I think reads is an important part of this, but I think it's the pre-snap reads more than anything else. And I think that's where, that's where that experience comes in. So kind of talk about, what you can do as a defense and what someone like JRP is facing as a inexperienced, to use your words, quarterback, when someone's bringing the house. What's the dilemma and the pre-snap reads that he's going through and the defense is trying to create for him?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, so for just the audience, whenever you're talking about a cover zero, there's no help anywhere. Everybody's manned up, and you're bringing one guy that the offense can't account for. So you have all your DBs are on the receiver or tight ends. Everybody else it's a blitz. So at quarterback, somebody's coming free. You don't know necessarily where. I mean, and that's where the experience comes in. When you know it's zero, depending on the play call, you can slide the line. So you do know where that free runner's coming, and you maybe can either avoid them and make a play, or you just know where the pressure's coming, so you know where you can throw the ball, how much time you have, who's coming, things of that nature. So that's big, just the quarterback and the O-line working together with those zero pressures, because that's, again, like you're saying, he was seeing that a lot early. Second, it's hard because, a free hitter is always going to be uncomfortable. I don't care what quarterback you are. But that's just an experience thing. You have to know in zero what receivers can win, because it's a one-on-one. What guys are going to win the one-on-ones? What are they the best at? Because it's, for example, if Jawan is say he's good at winning his one-on-ones running post, but he has a 7-cut or a corner, you don't want to throw that one-on-one just because it's one-on-one. But if you have Ryan O'Keefe running a fade or a vert, which he's good at winning one-on-ones, as you saw, he scored a touchdown on it, that's who you want to go to rather than somebody else that might not have – that's not what they want to win with. So you kind of have to know your guys too. And I just think that's just reps. I don't think there's something that, game plan-wise you can try to solve it. I think that's just kind of having reps for – I just know, when McKenzie would see that, it was always, if Traquan's going on a fade, let Traquan make the play, because he was our jump ball kind of guy. But if Jordan Akins had a mismatch, or if Gabe Davis had a mismatch, or if we have AK, running to the flat, we don't think anybody, we don't think a linebacker can run with Adrian Killens, so just give it to him and let him make a play. I think that's where you kind of have to know your guys and know what they can do, and I just think those are just reps. But again, there are things you can scheme coaching-wise when you're seeing just heavy coverages. I don't want to get too in-depth on that, but there are things that he definitely can do to help him. But again, you saw them, start giving them those quick slants, because those are what's open. And because you don't really want to press and cover zero unless you just have NFL guys. But yeah, I think that's just going to be a coaching thing, and JRP knowing which guys are doing the best at, what skill sets they have. You got to figure that out. And I think he did in the second half. Because we saw a lot of O'Keefe, which, we've been saying that since week one. He's probably our most dynamic player on the offense, so we have to find ways to get him the ball, because he's explosive. I think that's really all he can do.
So
yeah, he was.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to kind of add on to what you were saying, Plumlee was 10 for 17 for 90 yards in the first half and 10 for 12 for 226 in the second half. And I think that was partially getting that pressure off, and O'Keefe is a weapon for that. He's been hurt. And now we've got another receiver. So from a defender's perspective, if you've got Baker, who he's been going to for those 50-50 balls, and he's been dropping some. And then, O'Keefe has been kind of hurt, so they went to Xavier Townsend to try to offset him, because he's a step slower. But you saw the hands that O'Keefe has, right, in that touchdown grab. And now you've got, the other receiver that transferred from Auburn, and for some reason he's slipping my mind right now what his name is.
Kobe Hudson.
But you've got three weapons again now versus what you had before. So, how does that affect you as a defender? Because if you've now, gone from two weapons, and Mikey Keene dealt with this last year, with receivers being out, going from two weapons to three, that's going to make you create some help. And I think that's what you kind of saw in the second half. Is that what you saw too?
Yep, that's what I think. Just as a defender, for example, if you have one guy that you really have to worry about, you can double him. And that kind of is where I think they were kind of They were basically just saying, hey, somebody else is going to have to beat us. And that's that's kind of what we did when we played Memphis in the conference championship. We were not going to the first time we played Memphis, we weren't going to let Anthony Miller beat us. We had a double on him pretty much the entire game. But we knew that the quarterback was always going to try to he was going to force feed him no matter what. And then the second game, we kind of went into it with the game plan in the conference championship, and they finally started beating us with other guys, which then we had to leave Anthony Miller one-on-one, and then it starts to beat us. So now we have to change everything. So again, that's kind of what you want to do on defense. When you only have, for example, O'Keefe's banged up, Kobe Hudson's kind of, iffy. Well, we're just going to double Baker and stop the run. That's what I would do at least, and that's what a lot of teams were kind of aiming for. And that's what they were doing the first half, and then the second half, you start peppering it to Kobe Hudson, get O'Keefe involved, and that opens up Baker. Even though he drops those 50-50 balls, though, just the fact that he's being able to get, the pressure is being spread around, that's where as a defense you're like, okay, well, we're going to have to play off, sit back in a little bit more zone and make them read. But yeah, like that's the benefit of having 2, 3, 4 weapons that are capable to score and capable to make big plays on the field at once. And I think that it's a great problem to have for Gus, but I think he's just got to figure out, how to maximize those skill set of those guys fully.
All right, I want to go to the defensive side of the ball just a little bit more. The defense kind of got started slow as well. That rush touchdown up the middle kind of surprised them. Is there any explanation for why they got, kind of started slow and then they came on at the end? We know that this defense is super solid.
Yeah.
Way more solid than I was expecting, to be honest with you. And I think that we all kind of talked about that in the beginning. We were especially worried about linebackers and beyond. But it doesn't seem to be, that big of an issue. But the slow start and SMU definitely moved the ball on us without question in the first half. Any explanation or any ideas of why things were slow like that in the beginning?
Yeah. So whenever I see long runs, in my opinion, I know a defense is never – you're never going to call a defense that could expose a long run like that. So to me, I think that's just either a linebacker misfit or a D lineman wasn't in this gap or maybe even a safety or corner. They weren't in the right spot for the run fit. Because that was, he was like he shot out of a rocket. So they're like, to me, that's just a busted assignment. But other than that, I don't know exactly. Because I know in the second half they started getting a little bit more yards, but when you're up that much, you're going to give up yards. But early on, I don't think the tackling was as great. I don't think it was solid. We forced a fumble early in that first drive. But, you're talking about, I think he gained 20 yards on the catch. Then you force a fumble. Great for the fumble, but you don't want to give up 20 yards and force a fumble and take that risk because you're not going to force a fumble every time you give up a big play. So I think it's just maybe they're going for – because I was watching closer this time, and they do go for the ball a lot. And I know when I was playing, we went for the ball, but you can't be the first, like I said earlier, you can't be the first guy going for the ball unless it's like a game-saving touchdown. Like, for example, Brandon Alexander, 2014 versus Houston last play. Like, then you have to go for the ball because the game's over if you don't. But early on, just tackle and prevent all the extra yardage. I think that's where we're kind of running into a little bit of trouble, too, is just the tackling in the back end. That's just my opinion. It's a little bit too ball happy and not just, wrap up, live another down because it's causing a lot of explosive plays.
Yeah, and maybe they, the defense went back to basics a little bit too. And I don't know, complete speculation, obviously, but in that locker room, something was said, and it seems like the right thing was said.
Yeah.
Because they came out as a different team at halftime.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And again, I give the props to, the coaches and the players for making that adjustment in the second half. Because if you don't, they're gonna. I don't see why they wouldn't stop scoring other than they're missing field goals and just not executing because we couldn't stop them as far as moving the ball. But yeah, that's the props. That's one of the things this year is, for the most part, they come out the second half as a different team. They're focused. They have a plan, and they execute it. Just to me, that's a dangerous line to teeter on. Because luckily enough, every time we're going into halftime, it's not a big hole. Because it's always manageable to where you're not just becoming a one-dimensional kind of team, offensively and defensively. It's always within 1 or 2 scores. You can kind of stick to the script and work your way back. But, God forbidding that we're down 21 points at half, and that we're going to start playing upcoming. I don't know if we're equipped right now to just say, hey, JRP, we're going to need you to come back from 21 points and just throw your way back in. I think that's a lot to ask for him. As of right now, as the guy he is and what we've seen so far, I think that's a lot to ask. So I think we just have to, get a positive game script early and, keep it close like we've been doing and clean it up early. And I think a lot of our problem, because this team is so talented, man. I mean, from offense to defense and now, kicking game, which is what I've worried about, that we see like we got a guy who can make, some good kicks. So to me, we're uber talented and, the sky's the limit for this team. We just have to play like it, especially early, because they're doing it in the second half. But early, we just got to jump on teams.
Yeah, I think some of that talent is what's resulting, especially on the defensive end, in not allowing some of those touchdowns. We might give up a lot of yards in the middle of the field as far as between the 20s, but once we get into that red zone, we're the number 1 red zone defense in the country. We're number 7 in the country at third down percentage. So I think when you have that shortened field, or if we're able to get the defense or get the offense in a third and long situation, or even there's been plenty of times where it's third and short, and they just kind of use that athleticism, they use that talent, and really do shore up in those critical downs. And I think that's honestly been the shining, the bright spot of our, probably one of the biggest successes of our defense, which has a lot of great things to talk about this year, is that red zone in particularly, and the big plays on third down. So, and maybe speak about that as a defender, especially as a defensive back, where you've got to cover a lot of ground, but once it gets to that shortened field, you're able to use that quickness and athleticism in a tighter space, and maybe you could speak to that a little bit about some of the success we're seeing in the red zone.
Yeah, to me, I think that's defense to me. If you're an elite red zone team like we are, and an elite third down team, you're always going to be able to play games. And you're going to be a very, very good defense, because that's what wins football games. Can you get off the field on third down? And when they're threatening to score a touchdown, can you hold them? I think that's what wins games. I think that's what we're seeing with this team is our defense is blowing up, and in the red zone for a turnover, or in the red zone they're just driving. But in the red zone they stop, or third down, we get them to third down, we're getting off the field. I think that goes to high school, peewee, all the way to the pros. If you can be great on defense in the red zone and on third down, you're going to have a lot of success on defense. And that's what, that's what we pride ourselves on defense. To me, as I went through college, I learned a lot, but I definitely learned that, who cares if you give up, 700 yards in a game? If you only give up 10 points, the whole point of the game is to score more and not let them score more than you.
Exactly.
So just to keep it simple, we don't have to make this harder than what it is. So all of the yards, go ahead, take the 10-yard games, all this blah, blah, blah. But when you get in the red zone, hold them. On third down, get off the field. If you can do that, then, hey, you're always going to be a great defense. I could care less about how many yards people have, because nowadays the game is built for offense. It's built for offense to throw for a lot of yards, because that's what people enjoy watching, sadly. But so you have to have a little bit of give. But if you can just stop points from being scored and get off the field, your defense is going to be great. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and the first time ever Tyler Mordecai didn't throw a touchdown pass in this game. That's the first time ever since he's been at SMU. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal for this defense.
Big deal. And I think, again, like Roger was saying earlier, when you're just sitting in zone and letting him sit, he can pick you apart, as he was doing earlier. But just even bringing pressure and making him throw, like we were saying last week, just making him throw uncomfortable, that's where he's going to struggle, because, he's good, but he's not, that's the difference between a college guy and those NFL guys you see on side. I mean, you just saw Patrick Mahomes last night. The stuff he's doing.
Oh, don't get Andrew started.
I mean, that's just what it is. The stuff he's doing off platform, at awkward angles. It looks like he's fielding a baseball and throwing somebody out at first. That's just not. It's not what you think ideally of a quarterback, but that's what makes him so great, is he can do all those uncomfortable things. But 99%, he's a 1%er. That 99% of quarterbacks can't do that, and when they can, those are special guys. And so that's why I always say blitz them off. Even Tom Brady, as great as he is, he struggles when he can't get his feet set and make throws. Same thing with, Drew Brees, all those guys. That's most quarterbacks, just because that's how the position's played. So,
Well, I'm not going to say much about Patrick Mahomes, but I will say that we have a kicker from close to home here on the Kansas City Chiefs now.
59-yarder.
59-yarder. Matty Ice. What a kick. Missed kind of an easy one earlier, but whatever.
He made up for it.
He did. He basically Patrick Mahomes, even in the press conference, I watched it after the game, and he said that won the game.
Yeah,
that was one of the the game-winning type things. So awesome to see him on my Kansas City Chiefs.
Most definitely.
His Kansas City Chiefs. That being said, proud of him. 14.6 points per game this year, right? And we're talking about the red zone defense. I mean, one of the strengths that we had was the defensive line. And kind of like what we were talking about before, the difference between the first half and the second half was really bringing the house and leveraging that defensive line. I feel like and I will say this, I agree with you on the 700 yards when you have Frost's offense. I don't agree with you on the 700 yards when we're playing SMU, because they're the number 10 offense. And, the thing that we need is possessions. Because this, we're not the 2017 offense. I think we all know that, every single one of us, right?
That's right.
So we need to give them as many opportunities as possible. If our identity is going to be defense, that means get them off the field as quickly as possible. Third down percentage helps that. Getting that defensive line going. And I feel like, and tell me what you think about this, because I was going to bring up the red zone defense as well, because it really, we're number one. I feel like our strength is our defensive line, and we have, a great linebacker in JJB, and Jeremiah Jean Baptiste, if nobody knows who that is. I feel like when we use that strength, whether it's on the, when they're starting on the 25-yard line and we're bringing the house or what have you, feel like when we use that strength, they are strong enough, powerful enough, skilled enough, dominant enough of opposing offensive lines to disrupt plays and make a difference. Do you feel like that's what it is? Because, that's a combination of having good defensive backs, but I feel like that's the strength of the defense. Do you feel like that's where we need to go moving forward, instead of trying to do this zone where we've got some more inexperienced linebackers that may not be able to match up one-on-one or don't have the experience to do that, especially with Cam Moore, who's a true freshman, getting more snaps?
Yeah. I mean, defense changes every year depending on what you have. And I think that's the beauty of college is, what we're good at 4 years from now or 4 years ago, we're not elite like that. Like you're saying, 2017, we used to play defense knowing, we can give up a touchdown or two a game because our offense is going to get us a touchdown or two. So I think you have to shift and play to the strengths of your team. I think that's where as a defensive coordinator, as an offensive coordinator, you have to put your ego aside and always figure out. And I think that's what makes the best of the best. You figure out what your strengths are that year, what you have to work on, and you play to those strengths. If D-line right now, they're looking like our strength with Bash and Salazar, all of these guys, coming off the edge. And then you have, like you said, JJB, who's a stud in the middle. Our front is very solid. And we should use that to kind of mask any other, potential weaknesses as, like you said, a true freshman. Cam Moore playing, he's going to be a great player, I think. But right now, he's not that guy yet. He's still got to develop. He's still got to, figure it out and get his feet wet. And then on the back end too, if our guys are athletic as crap and, just let them play man coverage and let the guys up front eat, I think that's what you want to lean on. I think, early on, with all the zones, I think I don't know. To me, I just, like you said, I would always lean on my strength. If my strength are DBs, I'm gonna play a lot more zero, a lot more cover one. If my strength is up front, I'm going to let those guys eat. I'm going to let, and lean on them. I just think you have to find that mix as a defensive coordinator, and you have to lean into it. I would let, Morris Brash and Salazar and JJB, I'm letting all of them loose, because they're vets. Those are the guys that make the plays. I mean, those are the guys that you see every week that you can count on to make a play. So, yeah, I just put them in more situations to make those plays. But, again, like you're saying, on third down, I completely agree. Like, you don't want to give up 700 yards, obviously. But, they're winning on the downs that matter, the most at least. In the red zone, all of those downs matter. Third down, or those downs matter. And fourth down, I don't know what our percentage is, but I know what's his name made a great play.
I do.
He made a great play on fourth down. But it's just those are the important downs of defense that we are winning, that we have to continue to win. So I think if they keep doing that and just lean on the strength, lean on your strengths. That's all you can do.
All right, Roger, give your statistic.
All right. So we can do annualized or this game, whichever you'd prefer. And, I can do both annual and
just pick one.
Just say it.
Jeez, come on.
Okay. So for the season, we are at 28% for third downs for opposing teams.
That's great, man.
Anything under 30%, as we all know, is phenomenal for a defense, right? So this defense is absolutely bringing 26.39%, and on fourth downs 33.33. If you can hold someone under 30%, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
Conversely, we are at 35.71% for UCF, and fourth downs converted. 44.3% for the year, 35.71 in this game, and 75% on fourth down converted. So no matter how we get there, no matter whether you're talking about the run game, passing game, whatever, if you're holding that the opponent to 26% on third downs and you're getting 44% of them, that is literally exactly what you want to do on defense and exactly what you want to do on offense, because there's not very many teams that can beat you when that happens.
Yep, especially the defensive number. I mean, you're talking under 30%, 26%. Yeah, that means every 4 third downs, or they're only converting to 1. So you're talking 3 punts, or they're going for it, and 1 conversion. That's amazing. That's elite status. And then again, the points per game. 14 points per game is elite, especially in this era of football, where everybody can score. I don't know too many teams besides the military schools that are running triple option that really, aren't uber explosive. I feel like every team you're going to play these days is going to have explosive athletes. So to have them 14 points per game and, like you said, 26% on third downs, that's amazing.
Yeah, there was a point in this game against the top 10 offense in the country where they, SMU with Tyler Mordecai out there, they were 1 for 11 on third down. They wind up being 4 for 16, but those 3 they got at the end were against the R2s on defense side. So I mean, we're talking 1 for 11, one of the best offenses, certainly one of the best offenses in this conference, let alone the country. And so I'm 1 for 11 on third down. I mean, it was just an impressive performance throughout for the defense
right there. That's dominance. Like you can't ask your defense for anything more.
That's demoralizing too to the other team for sure.
Yeah, exactly. 1 for 11. I mean, that's just, you can't get anything going on offense. That's demoralizing because you don't know what to do. And I think that's the strength of the team right now is the defense. So again, lean on it, and just they keep leaning on it. Then these guys are going to keep performing because I saw it in person. These guys are athletic. And they can do a lot of things, but their strength is get after quarterback and play man. And if you can do that, you're always going to have success if you have those kind of guys. And I think we're set up for a couple of years with a lot of guys who can do that. So
this team scored 41 points on 71 plays, 71 offensive plays. Now imagine in your era, you had 100 with that offense. You had 100 and some odd snaps per game, right? 25% more snaps. I mean, this should be a 60-point game if the 2017 offense was on the field, right?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the thing about the 27, and I hate that we're even making the comparison, but that offense.
I had to do it, bro. I had to.
Yeah, that offense was just, I mean, I felt like there was everybody that was on the field could take it to the house at any moment. And I think that's what is so frightening about that squad was that, everybody was a home run hitter on that team. I remember all those guys, they would race and have like 4x1 relays, during the summer, like we were running on the track team, and we just race offense, defense, big guys versus little guys. Like they could really run offensively, and I think just the wealth of depth, you could always keep guys fresh, rotate them in, and they all had home run hitting ability. So I think that's the difference for me. So when you do that and you can have that home run hitting ability and then all the depth behind it, that's where you can get 100 plays a game. And like you said, you put 100 plays a game with that offense, we're going to score 60 easy. I mean, dude, we're probably going to push 70.
Who was the fastest guy on the team on the offense? And then who was the fastest offensive or defensive lineman on the team? Because, those guys have a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah. So offensively, I think it was easily AK. That's just, it looked like his feet didn't even touch the ground when he ran full speed. It was crazy. It looked like he was floating on the ground.
Like a cartoon. Like you couldn't even see him.
Sonic Roadrunner.
Yeah, Roadrunner, yeah.
Yeah. Defensively, Shaquem he used to fly, but I think Mike Hughes was probably the fastest defensively. But there were some guys that could give him a run. I remember Rashard Causey. He'd give him a good run. When we're just doing our little runs, he could run. But definitely Shaquem, Causey.
Causey seems so sneaky athletic, man. Causey just seems so sneaky athletic, man. That guy was just an athlete.
Yeah,
and he was a four-star from South Florida.
He was
he's a South Florida kid. Yeah, and he's big time. You come out of South Florida, 4 stars, you can run. If you're playing skill position. Yeah. He could run. And he put it together. He finally, because we used to be like, Causey, you could play on Sundays with your skill set, because he was a big kid. He wasn't a little rinky-dink little corner. He was pushing, 195, 200 pounds a corner. So he was a physical kid. And once, he figured it out. And, that's why he got his shot in the NFL, because he has that talent and that skill set. He could run. He was big. He'd tackle. That's all they want for, in the defense. And so, and it's those kind of guys that we had that weren't even playing. Like, that's what I try to tell people about the 2017 team. Like, yeah, you see those guys, but, some of the kids that we had, I remember telling you guys, like, Brandon Moore was a redshirt freshman. He could barely put his cleats on the right way, but he was just a freak show. Richie Grant, those guys, they would do things in practice. We're like, dude, if you could just figure it out, you're going to be a stud. And, you see it come to fruition now. And at the time, they're just, 19-year-old kids just running around college.
Bro, don't start on Moore.
Yeah, they're not focused on.
Heupel ruined his career.
Who? Which one?
Heupel. Brandon Moore.
Damn, yeah. He should have been out of that game. I tell people that forever. There's no point. But that's here.
That guy is an NFL player.
Yeah. He's an NFL player. There's no reason he's out there against who are they playing? South Carolina State. You have nothing to gain from that. But the fastest D lineman was it was Joey Connors. Surprisingly, he was so explosive. I remember seeing him race one of our running backs when we were freshmen, and he beat him. And I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world? Who are you? So yeah, Joey Connors. He was probably our fastest D lineman that I remember. Pitt
That's why he knocked out Joe Burrow right there.
Yeah, he lived for that, man.
Oh, bro, Joe Burrow, that guy should have never come back into the game. Like, I'm glad he did.
We all wish he didn't.
Because he woke up and now he's our NFL quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. However, I was so mad at him, Macaulay Culkin, as I like to call him, because that guy should have never been allowed to go back into the game after Connors knocked him out. I mean, he was out. Smelling salt's out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's I tell people that all the time. I'm like, Joe, you know, you probably made Joe Burrow who he is. I mean, not taking anything away from Joe. You know, he's a stud.
Well,
but
the difference before and after that hit, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Even Coach O said he was.
Yeah.
I mean, even Coach O said he was like
knocked it into him.
It literally looked like Joey Connors when he hit him. He woke up Peyton Manning from that point on. Like it's
he had
insane.
no idea
who is this kid?
Maybe Burrow actually died and he sold his soul to the devil to come back as a great quarterback.
No. What happened was Connors put some of that UCF pixie dust and transferred it to him because he hit him so hard. That's what it was.
It starts flowing through his blood, and now this is who he is now.
All right. Well, this has been fun. We do need to get to your prediction for UCF against Temple on Thursday.
I was way off of my prediction. Oh, wait, actually, what was my prediction? I thought I was pretty close.
Since all four of us are here, we can talk about this in this segment if we want to. We won't give our scores until the end, but.
Well, you did do the worst last week. You were 18 points off. I'm just saying that first time all season, but you know.
Who was the best?
Well, see, my thing was I thought we were going to be playing Saturday.
Oh, is that what it is?
Okay.
I was like, if we're going to be worried about a hurricane, they've already evacuated everybody. We can't have a proper amount of time to practice. So it'll be a little bit sloppy. It's gonna be a closer game to get to. Being they moved it to Wednesday,
he had that foresight considering
so
it
would have been a
that we had the last Knightline. You know, the hurricane was still looking at the Panhandle.
There you go.
Okay.
That's funny.
But I'll say Temple. I think we're gonna come. I think we're gonna come out fast this week. So I'll say 49 to 17. 49-14.
49-14. Write that down, Roger. All right.
I got it. I just entered it in. Nobody else's is in there. Ben can attest to that. Although I know he's reading my mind, so he knows what I'm going to say. So
who won last week?
You know why AP's asking this, right?
I just wondered. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know.
AP, you came in number one last week with 9 points. However, for the season, you are still in last place. So
that's fine.
We will all take solace in that.
It's the second time that I've won, though, I believe. I think I've won twice.
I'm coming after you, though, Trey. I'm coming after you, buddy.
And this one, so.
I'm the closest to Trey still. I'm coming after you, buddy. on the season crown, I'm coming.
Yeah, Trey did us a favor. He definitely moved up because he was off 18 points this particular week. So yeah, that really helped the rest of us out. So Trey, keep doing what you're doing, bro.
I'm gonna go back to my big spreads. That's what I've had success with.
There you go. Hot take. Remember. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Absolutely.
We will. It's going to be a short week for us now. Well, no, it won't because it's Thursday. It's weird. It's Wednesday game and now a Thursday game, and it's all weird. So
yeah, it's all out of whack.
I won't be able to remember on Monday when we talk about that game. Just like it's Tuesday and I can't remember last Wednesday anyway.
I'm telling you, I take notes from what I get mad at. That way
go.
I probably should. Sometimes I go back and look at our conversation.
Yeah, the group text.
That would actually help.
Are you enjoying that, by the way? Are you enjoying the group conversation since you're in it now?
Man, I'm laughing the whole time.
Okay, good.
If you guys want me to be honest, I try to watch the games without sound because I don't like when the commentators kind of influence how they want you to think.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can be listening to whatever
and
else.
You're seeing us like completely melt down.
Not us.
It gives
not
me the
us.
All of Night Nation in that first half.
I think it's everybody.
I'm laughing so hard though. It's a blast.
That was a tale of two halves.
I just sit there and I'm looking at it and I laugh and
plumber this, plumber that.
I was excited when they finally started. I was excited they finally started feeding O'Keefe. I'm like, it's about time.
I know, right? All of us.
So this is what I need you to do. I mean, if you're doing stream of consciousness and you're recording, you're basically journaling the football games and what you're mad at. The next segment, I want you to come in and, no matter what the game results are, I want you to say, we should do a segment that's like, what's Trey mad at next week? So we just like unedited, unfiltered, what Trey is mad at next week.
Yeah.
So
I'll write it down and then I'll pull it up. Normally I delete it after, because most of the time I'm mad, and then we get to the Monday and I'm like, I'm really not that mad. Like, who cares?
Bro,
I'll keep it this time.
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep it this time, and then I'll just read off my thoughts and I'll mark it at this point in the game. I'll detail it.
All right. Fun again as always. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. See you later.
Take it easy. All right, great talking to Trey again. I love talking to him every week. Luckily, this time we finally got everybody together. Ben's here with me this week, so we were able to get all of us on the phone together, which is pretty cool, or on the system together. So cool. Coming up, we have UCF Thursday night versus Temple. I almost said Tulsa. Temple.
Thank God it's not Tulsa.
Temple,
it's Temple.
Tulsa. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But
Space game.
It is a space game.
Well, Tulsa's okay as long as we aren't playing at Tulsa.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the problem.
Fair.
Yeah.
Or if it's not 2019, is that what it was?
Whatever year, it's never good.
Never good.
We don't play them this year, right?
No, we did not in the regular season. Well, we won't play
they
them
are
at all.
the T word. They're in the other division. We're avoiding them this this season.
Well, that'll be it then. Hopefully, we will not come across them again.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
That's great. All right, a couple more that we need to never come across again. All right. Speaking of, you mentioned the space game. Those uniforms came out today.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I'll quickly say I love the Space U. I just like
it doesn't say Knights on the front of the jersey. It says Space U. I do
think
like
that's
that.
So cool. I haven't completely broken down every aspect of it quite yet, but I like the look of it. You just glancing through some of the things that were released today, and I just love that. I thought for the unique nature of the space game, I like the Space U. I thought that was really cool.
They say the black in the helmets is the blackest black that we've ever worn.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'll take their word for it.
Well, there is different colors of black.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
Black on black on black.
Yeah. So,
but
very dark helmets.
Blue.
Hopefully, they will be able to see each other out there on the field. This is a night
George
game.
O'Leary.
Yeah. That's the funniest thing, I think. That why won't you ever wear black jerseys? Because they can't see the players in a night game. Are you crazy? That's insane.
The answer is yes.
Well, I mean,
crazy.
that brings up the lights. I mean, we don't want to talk about that because that's controversial right now,
Oh,
too.
my goodness.
Well,
But-
yeah, they're not that bad.
I agree that they're not that bad, but they could be better. I mean, I think it's just a byproduct of everybody upgrading. Well, we've still got the same. We don't have LED lights. I think that's the biggest knock on
That
it.
stuff is
we don't have
expensive.
the LED lights.
That's really expensive stuff. And then I guess they've changed the stadium. What they were going to do with the stadium improvements, they've changed that a little bit too. I guess they're
Are
gonna.
we getting into that?
Might
'Cause
as well.
That's kind of. That was like
Might as well.
a background thing that I don't know if we want to put that out there.
Why?
Because that was given by certain information by shareholders in a closed door meeting. So
It wasn't closed to shareholders. I know a lot of shareholders.
okay.
I don't know about you, but anyway, yeah. So they're doing some different things with the stadium. Guess they're going to build on to the tower, which if you're in those tower things, I've been up there a couple of times, and it there could be better, could be more room, could be more suites. A lot of these stadiums, I mean, you go to other stadiums, they have about 10 times more suites than we do, and those are the people that those suites hold the people that have all the money.
Yeah.
So you want to make them happy. I understand where they're coming from. Not doing the thing on is it the north end or the south end? Which one is
South end?
The south, yeah, okay. The south end is the one they were going to build the offices and stuff in there. I guess they're not doing that. No, supposedly.
Well, they're
that's
going to do coaches' offices and whatnot, but supposedly it's detached from the stadium. It won't be the add-on that they showed in the imagery, and in a way that makes sense. I'd rather them do detached right now because the internals of the stadium were only supposed to be, I think, 45 to 50 years. So they're going to have to replace the internal bowls of the stadium anyway. So anything that they can do to the outside that's freestanding, kind of like what FSU has done, I think is a good thing. I think that's a good use of money. Although I will say this, that South Club area was absolutely gorgeous and added some character to the stadium, which I think we need.
I think we need capacity. I mean, in my opinion, capacity. Because when you get into the Big 12, we are way, way smaller than a lot of the stadiums. So I'm looking forward to that extra capacity and even more.
I think what a lot of college football fans, certainly UCF football fans, should prepare themselves for is that the plans that are put forth years out for any type of upgrades will change.
Yeah,
will change
always.
often. These ones that we're talking about right now will change before they're actually built. So don't be too attached to any rendering that you see until you start to see it come to shape in actual construction. Just because that's the nature of it. Money at a university like UCF it has to be nimble, and we have to react to certain situations that are going to occur over the next year, let alone next 5 years. So I think that's something that we're going to just have to kind of adjust on the fly for as fans, and just trust that this administration is going to make the right moves at the end of the day. So,
and the lazy river is still happening.
Yeah, so
the recovery
that's still
cove
on the docket. It's still a rendering
still happening
that's active.
supposedly. Yeah, we shall see. How many years ago was that supposed to be done?
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the funded projects, but Terry Mohajir has kind of taken a different tact, and I support him in this, in that he's including some of the cool, I can't remember the term for it right now, but basically the cool down therapeutic pools that some of the other schools have. So he's incorporating that into the project, whereas Danny White's vision for it did not. So, I agree with that from that perspective. Ben, I agree with you on understanding that actually some of the funds are being diverted for basketball upgrades, which are sorely needed as we go into the Big 12. I know football is the moneymaker. However, our actual expense on the arena is more than what it is on the football stadium. The arena cost more than what the football stadium did. So we need to invest some money into getting the program where it needs to be, filling those 10,000 seats, especially as we're starting to play some of these bigger name schools. In fact, I just upgraded my basketball season, or not upgraded, but re-upped my basketball season tickets. And, I asked the season ticket rep, I was like, so what are we thinking for, cost on what these are going to be? And this year they went from a 50% discount for season ticket holders for football to 25. And he said, we'll see a significant increase in the dollar amount for those tickets, because the marquee brands and the conference that we're bringing in, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Kansas, Baylor, West Virginia, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. These brands in the basketball sphere are above and beyond. Or so
Houston,
we're going from. It's like going to the SEC in football.
Yeah.
Is basically what we're doing.
Yeah, it's rated every, it's something like 6 out of the last 7 years as the top basketball conference in the country, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon. So, especially when you add you take a school from the American and add it to the Big 12, where that school in Houston is a Final Four contender over the last few years. I mean, you're just only getting that much stronger, and so it's going to be an interesting road once we get into the basketball sphere. Not to jump into it too much, but
there's going to be a lot of demand.
Certainly, it's the facilities need to be upgraded on the basketball side as well. That is something I've been talking about for years, but it has to happen now that we're going to the Big 12.
Okay.
Well, Ben, I mean, I don't know. Again, we're a little early on basketball season, but, at the end of the day, you look at the quality of the player that we're bringing in now versus what we've had in the past. We've got 4 stars on campus.
Yeah,
legitimate
top
4
50,
stars.
Top 50 ESPN players that have never, we've never even sniffed the top 300, let alone the top 50. So, we've got players, and to your point, which I imagine is your point. I mean, we have players visiting that we're recruiting that were on their short list that are highly rated, that we never even had them thinking about UCF in the past, and the invitation to the Big 12 matters on that front big time.
Oh, huge.
Big time.
Huge.
I mean, because Florida is fantastic when it comes to football recruiting, but basketball recruiting throughout the state of Florida is special as well. And getting some of those guys that would go to certain schools, outside of the state, or go to the top, a program like Florida. Us being in the Big 12 makes a big difference in closing that gap.
I think that's going to make a bigger difference in recruiting in basketball than it is in football.
100%.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a way bigger deal. Basketball in the Big 12.
And it needs to be. It needs to be, because that conference is no joke.
Not at all.
It's no joke.
And if you don't...
Well, not only that, but from a revenue perspective, to take it back to what we were talking about, I mean, look, we have more cost into the basketball program than we do in the football, outside of scholarships, because obviously there's more scholarships for football players than there are for basketball players. But, for our ROI, if you're looking at this from a business perspective, for our ROI, the ROI potentially is bigger on basketball than it is for football in the short term.
Well, certainly the immediate jump in ROI will be, the percentage-wise will be significant in basketball. It won't be as significant that we'll notice in football for a few years, but it'll be immediate in basketball, just because of the stadium, or the arena, I should say, being filled up on a more consistent basis just being honest with the fan base. I mean, we're not seeing on a regular basis. We don't see the upper bowl of the arena being filled up.
I mean, I know it's been filled. I don't know if I've been there one time,
right.
I think, when it was sold out.
Yeah, I remember the Michigan game last season.
There was that game a few years ago against Cincinnati or something to go to the...
Yeah, the last game of the season there, the senior night for BJ and all those guys. Certainly, that was a sold-out game. But
Illinois State, when we were in the
NIT. NIT. But yes, there's been a handful of times, but we're talking consistently regular season games. I mean, this is you got
most of them.
You got Kansas coming to town. Who will be a top 10 team almost every time they come to town. You're definitely filling up that stadium, or filling up that arena, and so that's going to be an instant impact financially on the program, which is great. I mean, that's something we haven't had yet.
And my worry is, and I've said this before with basketball, I'm worried that arena could turn into a hostile arena.
Yeah,
with the amount of fans that, I mean, I wasn't going to say Kansas, but Kansas.
Right. Well,
there's a lot of
talk about Big 12 schools.
Yeah, there's a lot of Kansas fans though, all over the place, and they travel very well to go to games when you've won national championships and all that stuff. I just worry that it's not going to be our fans that fill our arena. It's going to be their fans that fill our arena.
Yeah, and so I think the optimism that I would bring to that point, which I agree with you, of course. I mean, you can't dispute it. But I think the optimism that I would bring to that point is, again, I'll go back to that Michigan game last year. Michigan was about to play in a bowl game the next day or the day after that. And so they had a ton of fans in Central Florida area. They were going to play in Miami, a couple of days after that. And so a lot of those fans did the double dip. They did the basketball game as well. And Michigan was a great, ranked team at that time, I believe. And so you knew walking into that arena that that the reason why this atmosphere is loud and this arena is filled up is because of the Michigan fan presence. But when we took the lead in the second half, you heard Knight Nation, and that's the optimistic way to look at it. It's yes, are we going to get more opposing fans? Yes, in the arena than we've had before, but the also bonus is we're going to get more fans in the arena than we had before. And if we're able to be successful against some of these good teams, which is going to be a tough road, but if we're able to be successful and turn the corner in some of these games, that's when you'll really hear Knight Nation wake up.
And we can have an advantage of having a small arena as well.
It gets loud in there when it
gets really loud.
Does.
Yeah, we just haven't experienced it very much.
No doubt.
We need to a lot more, and it needs to be our people that are in there. So
and to be fair to the Knights fans, I mean, overall, the product on the court has to get better as well. And everybody understands that, including Johnny Dawkins and what he's trying to build. So.
And I know our people will show.
Yeah,
Knight Nation will show up. It's like anything else, but you have to have a little bit of that worry, with other fans taking over. So.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, we're going from a conference that has 2-3 automatic bids every year, 3 if we're lucky, to
multiple
a conference
national champions.
That has 2 or 3 national championship contenders every year.
Yep.
That's a big difference.
Yep.
And over half the conference is not even thinking about not making the big dance. They're not even thinking about they're going to make the big dance. Basically, it's like what they're going to do in the big dance is the thinking, as opposed to can we make it? Can we get over the hump and just make the field?
The quality of competition is going to increase in basketball. I would even say tenfold compared to football. Maybe not tenfold, maybe, but. Whatever, that was just the word that I chose.
Right, yeah, it's certainly a big step up in competition, but what comes with that, with a team, with a university, an athletic program like UCF, what comes with that is that we'll step up as well.
Absolutely. It may take a little bit of time.
It may take a little bit, but we'll definitely step up as well. And we've seen it with some of the recruits that we just mentioned that are coming in, and hopefully we'll see some continued success on that front, which will lead to the success on the court. Which is
time is coming for basketball, like quicker than you think.
It is.
So,
you guys just got me going.
You're always counting down.
Thanks for bringing up the arena, Roger. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean,
you're welcome. I did play basketball too. I was a 2-sport athlete, so there you go.
We opened up a little can of worms there, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's all good. That's what makes this what it is. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're good with the uniforms. That's where we started.
Yeah, that's where we started this whole conversation.
I didn't even talk about them, but I will say this: 2 points. One, I love the Space U. I love the fact that I love my UCF, but the fact that it says Space U, I think from a branding perspective, as a marketer, I think that's huge. It's something that the entire college football world looks forward to. Secondly, there's a Reddit thread on this, and you have fans from Alabama, Oklahoma, App State, everywhere. They all love them. I know we as UCF fans, we grade them based on previous uniforms, but trust me when I tell you this, this is something almost Oregon-esque in the sense that, Oregon has been known for their uniforms for a long period of time. We kind of got there with the 2017 to 20 whatever years. That went away, but this is ours.
Yeah,
Space U. Yeah. This is ours, and we're recognized in the college football world for it. And as much as we want to critique them, whether you like them or not, there's a lot of people in the college football world that pay attention to UCF because of this branding. And personally, I love them. I wish they would have done more with the helmets. I love the mission patch stickers on there last year. I love the fact that we had anybody who was involved in the space shuttle program on the helmets that were UCF grads. But this is our identity. Let's embrace it. Let's rock it. Absolutely love the Canaveral blue. I don't know who, there are some of you that don't, but I honestly, I would not be opposed and I know this is going to be controversial. It's black and gold ever since I've been a UCF fan or known about UCF, but the way that blue color pops on that black, I would not hesitate 1 second to change our color combo to Canaveral blue and black.
I would stop you short there.
Nah.
It's unique, man. Like nobody else has Canaveral blue.
I know,
it's
but
literally the color of our Atlantic Ocean on the beaches.
Yeah,
they
but
literally.
Perception is reality, and I think a lot of people perceive it as Carolina blue, just the same as you can get into specifics and nuance. But I think what you just described about the space game being ours, and the space uniforms being ours, and being nationally recognized for that, I think that Canaveral blue is a part of that. And I think that it's great to have on a uniform and be incorporated in a uniform once a year, but I can't go as far as you just and just agree to. I'll just agree to disagree with you there on going any further than that than the space game.
I'm the same. It's the black and gold. Period.
I do. However,
I do like it.
I do. However, I am excited that we have more. Retail opportunities to buy
space,
hoodies and T-shirts and a lot more this year than we ever have in the
even
past. It seems like that's growing. Jerseys as well. And so I'm happy for us and all of Knights fans that they're able to buy more of that stuff.
To your point, like on that Reddit thread that I was reading about it on the announcement, there were fans from other teams that said that they were going to buy Space U merchandise because of that.
That's badass.
Cool.
That's Oregon
cool.
level right there.
Yeah.
Oregon became famous because of their, in part because of their uniforms, and so that's an impact that goes beyond the football field. That's pretty exciting.
I will say that I'm always a little disappointed with the Space uniforms. I liked the first year. Probably the best out of all of them, maybe the second year. But since then, I've been just a little last year's was...
the moon helmets? Come on.
Those were...
You can't get past the moon helmets. That's the centerpiece.
Was that last year, or was that a couple of years ago?
I think that was that was 2019, I think it was pre-COVID.
Last year...
I don't remember what last year was, and maybe that's the point.
It said didn't it say NASA on the pants or something?
It was the space shuttle one. It had the space shuttle pants, and it had the rocket, like the Saturn V, along the pants leg.
Moon helmets was pretty iconic,
it was cool.
though. I like the moon helmets.
Cool. Those were cool.
That wasn't. You're right. That wasn't last year, though. That was like before COVID.
Years ago,
All right.
Let's take it.
Who are we playing in this, this game as well? We're playing Temple. That's
Temple,
right.
not
Temple.
Tulane, not Tulsa, not SMU. We're playing Temple.
Yeah. So, interesting fact about Temple. I just learned this today. I did not know. Their quarterback is a freshman. His last name is Warner. He is Kurt Warner's son. Just so we all know that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is.
I mean,
fascinating. Yeah, he's a freshman, true freshman quarterback, I believe. True freshman.
Kurt Warner's son.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very odd. So, I mean, he has the ability. I mean, or has the gene pool, to be a heck of a quarterback.
Yeah.
Either that or bag groceries, one of the two.
Maybe both.
That's true. That is true. That was what Kurt Warner was doing before the St. Louis, what were they, Rams at the time?
Yeah,
Rams.
St. Louis Rams, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Chiefs fan, so it doesn't matter what St. Louis does. Anyway, so, okay. What else do we know? I know nothing. I tried to watch a little bit of the Memphis Temple game.
Temple game, yeah.
I mean,
do we want to take a break and then kind of break down the owl pellets?
We could. We need to make it quick though, so let's do that. Let's take a break and then we'll be right back. If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
All right, back on Knightline. I almost said Knightline at night. It's been a while.
Well, it is at night. We're recording at night.
It is definitely at night.
It is
almost morning,
11:30.
actually.
Yeah, it is 11:30. So we kind of need to get going here and finish it up. I don't want to make these shows too long. I've always kind of said that. We're already over 2 hours. So what else do we know about Temple? Is there anything that you want to discuss? I don't. I don't know, and I don't really care. To be honest,
I did my usual breakdown, and from your perspective, whenever you're ready for the matchup predictor, you can throw that in there. So this game will be Thursday Night Lights at 7 p.m. on ESPN in prime time. This will be the toughest defense that we've played thus far. Tulane is looming. However, they only allow 16.8 points per game. So this is going to be tough for our offense. We are the toughest scoring defense that they will face. Only allowing 14.6 points per game while we average over 35. So that bodes well for us. Obviously, the folks at the betting services agree. They only average 15 points per game, which does not bode well for them. They average 282.8 yards versus our 482, and they allow 280 yards per game versus UCF's 348. They are 2 for 3 thus far this season, losing their last game against Memphis. They're coming off a bye week, which we were supposed to as well, but obviously the Hurricane had other plans, and are led by a former longtime SEC defensive coordinator, and that's how they play. They play defense. Their losses this year include Duke 30-0, Rutgers 16-14, and Memphis 24-3. They have won against Louisiana Lafayette 30-14 and UMass 28-0. They last played UCF in 2020. Yeah.
So in other words, nobody.
Exactly. They have last played UCF obviously last year because they're in our same division. We beat them 49-7 at Temple. The yards rushing per game, they average 83.8. We average 252. Passing 199 for them, 230 for us. They allow 131 rush yards per game and 149 through the air. So what does that all mean to me? Keys for the game: pressure their QB. He's pretty terrible. He might have good DNA, but he hasn't played well this year. He is 62 for 110 for 56% completion percentage, has 806 yards through the air, which our quarterback, Mr. Plumlee, has 1,143 for the year. He has 5 TDs and 6 interceptions. In other words, we should be able to get turnovers. They have a really stingy defense. If we can get turnovers, we'll limit their offense versus ours. No matter how good their defense is, if we get possessions, we should be good to go. We should win this game handily as long as we don't turn the ball over. I feel like we'll test their run defense first. Their strength is their D-line, and then soften them going, outside with Ryan O'Keefe now that he's healthy, and RJ Harvey outside the tackles. I expect some screens and reverses. We'll pop a few to Baker and Hudson in the second and third, and run the clock with the rushing game in the fourth. So if O'Keefe isn't working, I expect us to go back to Johnny Richardson. But outside of that, I just expect us to win this game. I mean, there's not much else to say.
All right, matchup predictor, 96.9% chance that we win the game, 3.1% chance that they win the game. So that's pretty good. 23 point favorite at this point. Maybe 23.5 still. Let's see. Yep, 23.5. It keeps varying between. It's weird how these lines
flutters
move. Yeah. So it's one point we were 23.5, then went back. We were 25 when it opened. So I don't know. Somebody came to their senses, I guess. 23.5.
People betting against the spread. That's all that is.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's our Temple preview.
I've got nothing to add to Roger's detail analysis of Temple. I think we're gonna smoke him.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, that means that it is time for the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, it was Taco Tuesday tonight. I did not get tacos, unfortunately. But maybe Taco Wednesday. I don't know. I need to go to Tijuana Flats. Haven't been in probably 2 or 3 days, so I need to go.
It's been a little bit longer for me. I need to get back there.
All righty. Who wants to start? Roger, how about you start? What is your Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week?
All right. Do we want to go over where we are, or?
Oh yeah. Well, we did that. I think we did it with Trey, didn't we?
Yeah, we did all except for the series lead. So if we want to talk about that, we can.
Go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, Trey's still in the lead with 57. Ben is second with 76. I'm in third with 85. And Andrew, you are bringing up the rear with 93. As far as this game is concerned, folks.
But I won last week. So.
You did win last week. We'll give you that. You got a ways to go. That being said,
it's a hot take.
The Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Ben did not put his score prediction in here this week. I did not either, so there's no cheating, although I think I know what Ben's going to say. I'm going to say, for me, it's going to be 38 to 10. 38 to 10 is my score prediction and my Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week.
Okay, Ben.
All right. As usual, we're pretty close on one score. I think both sides of the ball, we're going to carry that momentum from the second half of the last game. I'm saying 40-3.
To 3.
I think that this offense is not going to. I think our defense is going to step up even further, take on the challenge of not allowing a touchdown in this game.
What was
40-3.
40-3. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn. Their defense is a little stingy, so I'm gonna say. I'm gonna try to not be as hot of a take this time. So I'm going to say 31-7. 31-7 will be mine. I think that they're going to get 7. Maybe, 31-7. We'll do that.
Well, I will say this. If we are all correct, because, ballparking this, Trey is going to lose even more ground to the rest of us. So his take was 49-14. So Trey, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because if we're right, we're going to be catching you here pretty soon.
All right. Yeah, that's good. All right. News and notes, I guess. And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, women's soccer is now 4-2-4 after defeating conference mates Temple away 2-0 and SMU at home 1-0. Their game against Cincinnati was postponed due to the hurricane. Coach Tiffany Sahadek will rejoin the team on Thursday at 3 p.m. For their game versus Cincinnati after fulfilling her responsibilities for the USA national team.
All right, and UCF men's soccer is now 5-4 overall and 2-3 in conference after dropping games versus FAU 1-2 and versus number 23 SMU 1-2. The Knights did beat FIU 3-1 and are scheduled to play at UAB on Friday at 8 p.m.
UCF women's volleyball stays at number 24 after dropping their first game in a close one against Houston after four straight games on the road. The team is now 13-1 and 5-1 in conference after dropping their first game of the season, just like Andrew's Kansas Jayhawk football team. The team is still dominant and has defeated Memphis, SMU, Tulsa, the one team who wins their consistently. Yikes. Okay. All right. Roger writes these, folks, so I'm just reading them.
Roger always tries.
Wichita State and Tulane with clean sweeps.
All right. No comment on the Kansas thing there. I'm not going to comment on that.
Hey, listen, they're still ranked. It's all good.
Yeah,
well,
it's
just
amazing.
Like the volleyball team.
Just
they
like the volleyball
didn't really
team,
move.
yes.
I did watch that volleyball game, by the way. The first one, well, I've watched a couple, but I actually followed that one through and watched the entire thing.
That's going to be the team that they're going to be.
I was kind of surprised.
Battling at the end
just
of
like
the
last
season.
year.
Yeah, Houston's the one team that's the biggest matchup for us.
Okay.
They are number 26 now, by the way. Houston is ranked 26. So
So
they'll be in
we
the top
stayed
25.
where we were, stays at 24.
Correct.
After just dropping that one. Yeah, that's good. KU stayed at 19, by the way.
Yeah, the football team, right?
Football, yeah. So that's good. It shows, I guess, when we move to the Big 12, you can take a quality loss and still, stay in the
Well, I think it also shows. I mean, look, I joke around about Kansas a lot, but they're a good football team this year, and I think that shows respect for Kansas football and what they've done thus far. And TCU is a great team this year; they're a ranked team as well. And it was two undefeateds going at each other, and
you got to win those game day games, though. That's the game day was there for the very first time.
Yeah.
And you have to win those games, or otherwise.
So does that mean UCF had a game day experience before Kansas did?
Obviously.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until you just brought that up.
Yep. Game day hasn't been around for that long. I mean, when Kansas was good, it was a long time ago.
That's
so I don't even know.
Well, you were playing for them at that point.
Well, they were good since then. 2007, 2008. I think that they were ranked number 1 at one point. So you got to remember that, and they won the Orange Bowl in 2008, I believe, 7 or 8. Anyway, but it's been a long time. 3 consecutive sellouts for Kansas is a really big deal in their football stadium. So congratulations to UCF on announcing another $250,000 donation for the athletics department. Charge on. That's awesome. Very, very good for UCF to get money like that.
I think it shows the maturity of the donor base as well. I mean, $250,000 is nothing to sneeze at for someone to give an athletics department.
Absolutely. All right, it's been fun, guys. This has been Knightline 278. I'm Andrew Phegley.
And I'm Roger Phipps.
And I'm Ben Stout. Go Knights.
Charge on.
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. is our cry, B-S-E-T-O-R-Y, tonight our nights will shine. UCF Knights, UCF, let's go Knights, UCF charge on.